All right, so let's get right into it. There's this prophecy, right, made decades ago by a rabbi most people had never heard of until now. Suddenly, it's all over social media, and it seems to connect ancient predictions directly to the headlines we're seeing today.
And here it is, the prediction itself. When Gaza is destroyed, the Messiah will come. It's attributed to a Rabbi Levi Saadia Nahamani. Now, this isn't brand new, it's been floating around for a while, but with everything going on, it's just exploded. People are asking, who was this guy? And what did he really mean by this?
So who was the man behind such an incredible prophecy? To really get a grip on what this prediction is all about, you have to understand the man himself and his pretty unique way of looking at the world. See, for him, this wasn't just some wild guess about what might happen. No, it was a piece of a much, much bigger cosmic puzzle.
So let's pull back the curtain on the man behind the words. You might be picturing some isolated mystic, but Rabbi Nachmani was way more than that. He was actually a respected scholar, a community leader, and his life was this fascinating mix of the deeply spiritual and the super practical.
His name was Rabbi Levi Saadia Nahamani, and he lived from 1921 to 1995. He was born in Morocco, and he was a serious scholar of Kabbalah. That's the ancient tradition of Jewish mysticism. He even wrote books like Brit HaLevi. But what really drove him was this idea of uncovering what he believed were hidden patterns, a secret code almost, buried in history.
And here's what's so interesting about him. He was really a man of two worlds. I mean, during the day, he had a regular job, to support his family. But then every single evening, he would teach Torah, sometimes for 5 hours straight, from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. And for him, there was absolutely no contradiction between the everyday, rational world and the deep, mystical one. He saw them as just two sides of the same coin. Now, this whole worldview, this unified philosophy, it was all built around one single revolutionary idea, an idea that basically flew in the face of centuries of tradition. So at the very heart of his teaching was this major shift in mindset. He said, look, for centuries when Jewish people were in exile, living under foreign rule, the strategy was to wait. Just wait passively for the Messiah to show up, because trying to force things, trying to take action, was actually seen as dangerous. But he argued things had changed. In the modern era, with a sovereign state, that old way was totally obsolete. It was time for something new, something he called active redemption.
In his own words, it was time not to sit with folded hands, but to gather strength and to act. Basically, waiting around wasn't going to cut it anymore. He believed this new era demanded action, a real spiritual awakening to actually bring about the Messianic age. But that's the big question, right? How did he think he knew when the time was right to make that switch?
So how could he be so sure about these predictions? What was his whole framework for seeing the future? Well, this call to action wasn't just some random feeling he had. No, it was built on something much deeper, a truly mystical understanding of how time and history actually work.
This brings us to a hidden code in history. See, for Rabbi Nahamani, history wasn't just one random thing happening after another. Not at all. He believed it was a structured, repeating pattern, a design.
He called this historical patternism. The basic idea is that Jewish history isn't random. It follows this hidden, divinely authored structure. It's full of repeating cycles and numbers. It's like history is a book written in code, and he believed that if you could crack that code, you could see the path forward.
So what did these patterns look like? Well, one of the big ones he pointed to was a 1,000-year cycle. He laid it out like this. The first temple was built around 480 BCE. Almost 1,000 years later, you have the end of the Second Temple writings. Fast forward another 1,000 years or so, and you get to the end of another major era. For him, these huge 1,000-year blocks of history weren't a coincidence. They were part of the pattern.
But it wasn't just these huge 1,000-year cycles. He also zoomed in on smaller, recurring numbers that he thought were super significant. And the one that he really focused on, the one he saw as a key to a smaller, more intimate cycle of history, was the number 19.
And once you start looking for it, he argued, you see 19 pop up in some really interesting places. For instance, the ancient kingdom of Judah, it had 19 kings. The kingdom of Israel after the split, also 19 kings. 19 is also a really important number for the lunar cycle in the Hebrew calendar. He saw this number as a kind of signpost, a recurring marker between key historical moments.
Okay, so now we're getting to how this all ties together, interpreting the present moment. We have these two big ideas, right? Active redemption, the need to act, and historical patterns, the idea that history is a code. So how do those connect back to that shocking prophecy about Gaza?
Well, in Rabbi Nahamani's way of thinking, it all clicks together perfectly. Step 1. History is a code, a predictable pattern. Step 2, a wise person, a sage, can learn to read that code and see what's coming next. And that leads to step 3. When you see an event that fits the pattern, like a prophecy coming true, it's not just an interesting fact, it's a call to action. It's the universe telling you that a preordained moment is here, and it's time to start that active redemption.
So if you're someone who follows these teachings, the news today about Gaza, it doesn't look like chaos. To them, it looks like a story unfolding exactly as it was meant to. It's seen as a powerful confirmation of his entire mystical system. And it creates this incredible sense of urgency, this feeling that the final redemption isn't just coming someday, it's imminent. It's right around the corner.
And you can really feel that urgency in this quote from a modern-day rabbi sharing the prophecy. He says, "If until now there are people who did not feel the Messiah, now everyone feels that we are on the verge of redemption." This really captures how powerfully these ideas are hitting home for people right now. It's this deep feeling that something fundamental has shifted, that a prophetic clock is ticking, and it's happening in our lifetime.
So what do we make of all this? The story of Rabbi Nachmani and his prophecy leaves us with this huge, fascinating question. What really drives the course of history? Is it action, the choices we make? Is it prophecy, some kind of pre-written script we're all following? Or is it interpretation, the way we find meaning and patterns in the chaos around us? What truly shapes our world? Maybe, just maybe, it's a little bit of all three.